How are we all doing today? Thank you for starting us off with a hydrate, Nate. Let me grab that real quick. I really love using these Spirit City shots for the getting the stream start screen. They're just so cozy and they really fit the vibe, especially for something like this. Just to get the throat from being dry. Thank you. I was actually, as soon as I started talking, I was just thinking, maybe I should drink some water. How is everyone doing? Have you had a good weekend? Hi, Nate, Sword Swiper, Mugger, Derpy, Sniper. I think that's all of... Yeah, I don't think I missed anyone. Let me... I hate leaving the screen behind. It's so cute. Anyway, I guess I will bring you in. There we are. Hello, hello, hello. Mugger, like... Oh my gosh, did I not... Wait a sec. Oh, where did it go? Did I accidentally close it? I'm sorry, Nate, can you refund Mugger's points? I swear I had it open earlier. Okay. There we go. Should be good to go now. Thank you, Nate. Yeah, I guess I must have just closed out of it for some reason. Sorry about that, Mugger. But today we are going to read a longer creepypasta. I kind of expected to take our whole session today, so hopefully it's good. It's called The Girl in 402. And it's by, let me double check the name. I think it's like Rainmaker Windwaker. Yeah, Rainmaker Windmaker, or Windwaker, which I kinda love that name. It reminds me of Inuyasha when his attack he always screams it and it's like Iron Reaver Soul Stealer. And that's what it reminds me of. Rainmaker Windwaker. Gosh, Mugger, you're going crazy on the fishing today. You gotta clean the pond. Thank you for your service, Mugger. Yeah, we are good to go. So all of you who want to fish are good to do it. A wahoo. I don't think I've seen that one before. How have we had it so long and I'm still seeing new fish that I haven't noticed before? Hello, Admiral. Sneaking in with the... Oh my gosh, World, starting us off with a raid. Thank you. How was your stream? Hi, Slushy. It's good to see you. Nate, you've been hyped up a bit with a friend lock. Your pals have been doing kind of getting a comeback this year. Either we're doing a clean slate run or running it with only one actual person alive. So what is a friend lock? Like, I think of Nuzlocke, but I don't know if it's the same thing. Very good. Got through a lot of our life finally. I need to pop into another one of those streams. I excuse me. I got something stuck in my throat. Um but yeah, I enjoyed the first time when you started it, but I haven't really gotten to catch it much since then. How far into the game are you guys? I was actually playing some Helldivers earlier, and then when I got off, I saw you were online, but I had to eat some food before I started getting ready for stream, so I didn't pop in. Oh my gosh, you're still on step one? I thought you'd be a lot farther. Hi, Brayden. I haven't given you all a hug. There. A nice hug for all of you. Mwah. Sniper, let you say this again and hopefully your internet doesn't crash. How are you? I'm doing pretty good. I was actually productive today, which really felt nice. I went to work, I cleaned the bathroom, I got some tickets taken care of for a flight to go visit my parents with Drambeak. It's going to be our first time meeting them in person. I'm really excited. And then after that, I played a bunch of Helldivers, which wasn't exactly as productive, but it was a lot of fun. We making Edward Cullen love us. Oh, world, you just take your time reading and letting Slushy make choices. Oh my gosh, it's just Slushy's playthrough. You're just clicking the buttons for them. Mugger, you got some hotspot. You might hop in VR, play GTA G. What's GTA G? Is that a certain kind of Grand Theft Auto? Aw, Brayden, you're so tired going home right now after eating Japanese food? Nice. What did you have? I hope it was, oh, Gorilla Tag. Okay. That makes sense. I haven't played it. It looks very silly. Slushy, she told you when you get your PC that's one of the games she's buying you. Aw, that's sweet of her. Nate, a friend lock is a nuzlocke, but your friends are the Pokemon and they control what the Pokemon does. Interesting. I imagine that'd be pretty hard if you have a lot of friends doing it. Like one friend for each Pokemon. You'd have to try and get everyone together. It'd be like trying to orchestrate a D&D campaign. Mugger, unless your world is open, you'll run in, bomb, and run out. No, it's not an open world today. Just little old me. Brayden, you had temper. Aw. Oh, hi Kurumi. It's good to see you. Thank you for the follow. We are gonna read a creepypasta today. So if you're interested in horror, I hope you stick around, get cozy. But if not, no worries. I appreciate you showing up though. Brayden, you had tempura vegetables. Pretty much this you get every time, or ramen. We have a couple really good ramen places in town. I really want to go back. We took a Dram to go have it. Oh my gosh, it's so good. I really want some ramen now. Have fun lurking, Mugger. Nate, alongside that, it's a random... Oh my gosh. puffing out my chest. Alongside that, it's a randomizer, so you get a bunch of Pokemon ready. Alongside the fact the randomizer is power scaled, so you wouldn't find a legendary Route 1 or anything like that. Sounds fun. I've never done a Nuzlocke. Oh, before I forget, I wanted to ask you guys, and I know there's only so many of you here, but I'm curious, how interested in D&D are any of you? Because I'm gonna start a campaign with some people. I'm not gonna run it, I'm just gonna be a player. But I was just curious if that was something you all would be interested in. Yeah, D&D. Because I know the DM wants to record the sessions, but if you guys are interested, I think it's definitely something that we could stream. And Tram went outside. It's an emo miracle. You dorks. Sniper, D&D, what's that? Dungeons and Dragons. Nate, another cool idea for a rule we have is after every gym is beaten, anyone dead can be reincarnated in a different Pokemon. I like that. That's a lot of fun. Sniper, have you really never heard of Dungeons and Dragons? Alright, before we start our story, we're gonna go on a little rant here. But first, let me get another drink of water. I don't know what it is. I can't get the little, whatever out of my throat. Oh, Mugger, or sorry, Sniper, you are not targeted. I mean, I guess technically you are targeted because I'm only saying this because of you, but it's okay. It's not bad targeted. So, come a little closer so I can pet you as I talk to you. D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, is a tabletop role-playing game. So basically, you create your character, and there are so many books to use for this stuff. You choose your class, your race. It's like an RPG you would play in video game form, but it's pen and paper. And you go on adventures and stuff. And that's basically the gist of it. The campaign that we would be playing would be a modified version of the 5e rule set. Pet with given information, that's new for me. Yeah, I need to pet the information into you so it sinks in. Okay, let me make sure I get this name. I'm assuming the H is silent. Maybe not. Herbatazaz? Herbatazazji? I'm gonna call you Herb, if that's okay. But thank you so much. Thank you for popping into chat. We love seeing new people. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. Oh, Nate was made because there are so many encounters in Pokemon and only so many people in the friend group. Makes a lot of sense. Keeps everyone involved. There's text inside your head. Interesting. Yeah, it's the avatar maker. So, like, here, let me, see? Minori's avatars. I'm basically branded. I'm a walking commercial. Well, what do you all say we get started on our story? I, for one, think that sounds like a pretty good idea. Alright, let's bop you back into place. Bop. Alright, now let's get started. This is The Girl in 402 by Rainmaker Windwaker. I knew one day I would have to tell this story. It took me a year to finally sit down and do it. I've been told that doing this could help me move on, but that's not what this is for. I don't expect to move on. The girl in 402 will always be with me. I'm telling this story simply because I have to. I lived there for 2 years. It was a tiny little unit tucked away on the very right of the 4th floor. Bachelor is almost generous. It was the kind of dingy place that never looks bright no matter how many lights you have on. But I liked it. I'm good with a small space. I enjoy not having that much to take care of. I could do without the bug problems, the leaks, the electrical problems, and the rotten smell that just sort of happens. But it is what it is. Thank you for the hydrate, Nate. Sniper, you mean in VR chat? You're just a walking, talking, furry wolf cat thing? That does sound like a VR chat avatar. Hi, Cabby. It's good to see you. I love the cute little tails. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend, Cabby. You're just in time. We just started the story, so you haven't really missed much of anything. I lived there for 2 years. It was a tiny little unit tucked away on... Wait, did I read? Oh, I read that part. There was a level of comfort as well to living on the 4th floor. Nobody robs a random 4th floor apartment unit. Nobody can peek into your window. It's unlikely to get shot at. Yeah, I lived in one of those kinds of cities. You didn't walk around at night if you could help it. You just didn't. I got accustomed to the noise there. The cars, the sirens, the dogs barking, the shouting, the occasional echoing pop of a gunshot. It all becomes a whirling auditory soup. I learned to tune it out fairly quickly. In fact, I learned to tune out a lot of things. I was in one of those periods of life that I think some people call the grind, but really, it's more like getting beaten into submission. Working to live, living to work, not living at all, just continuing to exist. All of this to say, I wasn't very perceptive or sociable at this time. I was sleepwalking and daydreaming through life. I'd say I could do my routine blindfolded, except for the fact that I would stub my toe in the same spot on the coffee table 4 times a week at least. Funny how that works. I guess that was part of the routine too. But that's what I mean about not being perceptive. The building could have caught on fire, and most days I probably wouldn't have noticed until I actually went up in flames. I didn't retain any faces I saw or names I heard. It was all just a blur, each day blending into the next. Until one night. Right, give me just a sec. Sorry about that. Nate Furry's in the chat. One question. Oh no. There we go. I think I just ruined the anchor. Okay. We're just gonna chill out here. It'll be a close narration today. Furries in the chat, one question. Why do so many people sexualize Tony the Tiger? I don't see... Does Tony the Tiger get sexualized by furries a lot? Maybe it's because he's like, he's a nice guy, he's strong. He's like the jock that is actually cool, I guess. Apparently people think he's hot. Interesting. Alright, back to the story. I got home from work like usual in the evening as the sun began to descend past the buildings. I couldn't afford a car, but thankfully my work was close enough to walk to. The days were getting shorter now, so my walks home became more brisk. The apartment still smelled of dust and paint as they had finally sent someone to replace a moldy bit of wall the day before. I could still feel the sensation of dust collecting on my tongue when I opened my mouth and it getting sucked into my nose with every inhale. The smell of paint was strong, but initially better than some of the other smells. I opened the window to attempt to ventilate the place. I emptied a bucket of rust-colored water collecting in the bathroom. They couldn't be bothered to fix that as well. And I collapsed onto my bed. This was my ritual. After every workday, I would always take 10 to 15 minutes just to spread out on my bed like a cat and decompress from everything. But tonight, after about 2 minutes, I heard a noise. This noise stood out from all the outdoor soup because it sounded a lot closer. And it sounded like a voice. A soft, feminine voice, making some kind of subtle moan or whimper. I froze in place. It startled me. It sounded so close. Like it might be in the other room. I didn't move a muscle. I didn't want to make a noise. I wanted to hear it again so I could tell where it was coming from. For a second, I thought it might be coming from under my bed. After a few seconds, the sound repeated. A faint, girly whimper, a bit louder than the last one. But this time, I could tell where it was coming from. It was behind me. Specifically, the other side of the wall behind my bed. That gave me some relief. It was my neighbor. But then I was confused. I didn't ever remember hearing my neighbor making noise before. If I could suddenly hear a noise that soft, that mild, why couldn't I hear anything before? Did I even have a neighbor before? Is this person new? I felt a rush of shame at just how detached I had become. I reached back into my mind to try and recall any memories I had about my neighbor. Couldn't find a single one. I remember some people being on my floor, but I couldn't remember ever seeing anyone enter or exit the door next to mine. I did, however, recall seeing people yesterday morning trying to move a couch up the stairs in the lobby. It was a fairly regular occurrence to see things like this. People rotated in and out of this place all the time. I suppose nobody else really wanted to stick around that long, and I can see why. But I guess that answers it. As peculiar as it is, I didn't have a neighbor before, for 2 years, and now I do. And now they're whimpering. Why are they whimpering? Slowly, These sporadic whimpers became more defined sobs. A woman was crying. I didn't know what to do. I just decided to be as quiet as possible and put some headphones on to let them have their privacy and spare myself from feelings of any more awkwardness. It felt wrong to hear this, and I immediately felt bad for this person. I made sure to play some extra loud music. About an hour later, I removed my headphones, and the noises had stopped in the interim. I very briefly debated going over and telling them about how thin the walls apparently are, but I made the much easier decision to wait. Wait until they do something loud and not so private so I can use that as an excuse. Like the TV or something. I was weighing my options, but I couldn't talk to them about this. I couldn't say, "Hey, you were crying really loud over there." The rest of the night was quiet, but I didn't have the best sleep. This disturbance in the routine, and the thought of having to face this person at some point was giving me some anxiety. By the morning, however, the alarm kicked me back into the routine. I heard no noises from the neighbor, so life resumed. Let's catch up on chat a little bit. I see you guys kind of being chatty. Talking about furries. He like you for sword swiper. Oh, not part of the furry community. Oh my gosh, we do not pipe bomb mailboxes of furries here. We welcome furries. As long as you're considerate, you're welcome here. Nate, a jock who is actually nice, she says. Meanwhile, you were a sport head during doing baseball, cross country, etc., etc. Biggest jock in your entire school. Yeah, honestly, there's kind of a stereotype, you know. It's a bit more archaic these days, but there's the stereotype of jocks just being like meathead bully type people. And it was actually the opposite when I was in high school. I shared a lot of classes with like people in the football team, and they were like AP classes. A lot of them were really smart and kind. I'm sure that's not the case everywhere, you know. Everyone's different, every school is different, but my experiences with the jocks in high school were definitely not like the stereotypes. Astral sure does like those moans and whimpers. Oh my gosh. Nate, nerds for example, they're the type of jerks who will say something that doesn't give as big a feeling at first compared to a jock, but that sticks with you. So a lot of the more nerdy people that I knew in school, they did have more of a tendency to bully a little bit with their words. And I think it was a lot of insecurities. At least, you know, this is just the people I knew. I think, like, there's been that kind of cultural lingering insecurity of just the nerd clique, quote unquote, where, you know, a lot of us, because I definitely was a nerd, I still am a nerd to some degree, a lot of nerds had some sort of bullying or instances where they were made to feel less than, and then it gets passed on. Anyway, that's just my thoughts. Sword Swiper, you were referencing a meme. If they can afford a $10,000 fursuit, they can... Oh. I've never heard that meme before. Astral's giving us the back in my oh my gosh. I suppose it was a little bit of back in my day sort of thing, but you know, it it was when I was in high school. That's when I encountered jocks. Slushy, that's just her cute existence. Oh my gosh. Astral's only 22. You guys, you're a bunch of dorks. I swear. Lots of us people here are in it past high school. Wait, what do you mean? Oh, in the furry community. Okay. Admiral, no, if you just spent that on the suite, you can't afford... Oh, on the suit, you can't afford to send something else. It's like, I was actually listening to, Virtual Escape the other day, and someone said, like, gamers who play VR chat are some of the richest, and, Virtual was like, nah, because we have to spend so much on all this stuff just to play VR chat the way we want. It's kind of the same as the fursuit mentality. Yes, I am the dork slushy. We're all dorks here. Let's continue our story. Let me take one more hydrate. We're doing... I am hydrating a lot today. I don't know what it is. My throat's just a little dry today, I guess. Oh, Slushy, you were over there when that was said? What a coincidence. We're all dorks. Twitch does match you up with people of similar interests. I can't argue with that. I have questions about you all now. All right. I got back home from work that night, much later than usual, because someone decided to no-show at work. Walking home in the dark made me paranoid, and I hated days when this happened. When I got inside, I was relieved, and the dust and paint were not nearly as oppressive to the senses this time. I did the window, the water bucket, and then collapsed on the bed like clockwork. What happened yesterday was still on my mind, so I made sure to be extra quiet when laying down. After a few seconds of silence, I was ready to try and remove the whole ordeal from my brain. And then I heard the voice. I couldn't make out the first word I heard from the other side of the wall, but I listened for the rest. It was a poetry book. I heard in a muffled but distinctly feminine voice. Quieter than yesterday, I thought. She must be further away from the wall. I can't remember exactly. It always feels like we're going somewhere. Maybe that's why we see them most at night. I mixed up our glasses. There was a moderate gap of a few seconds between everything she said. Clearly, I was only hearing half of a conversation, phone conversation most likely. Or else the other person is just insanely quiet. It was difficult to gauge her tone from how muffled the voice was, but there was a kind of melancholy to it. I wondered what was going on, and I kind of laughed at how random the phrases were. I thought about listening further, but I stopped myself. It wasn't my business. It's not for me to hear. I once again thought about going over and letting her know about the noise, but it didn't feel like a good time. I put on my headphones once again to try and enjoy the minimal amount of respite I had left in the day. And that was the end of it for that night. The third night, I got home on time. I was a bit surprised not to hear anything from her at first. I guessed that maybe she went to bed early or went out for the night. It was Friday after all. Usually people do things on Friday nights. I still made sure to be quiet when near her wall just in case she was sleeping. I made a mental note to look up how much soundproofing panels cost. I probably should have thought of that earlier. I got up from my 15-minute work sucks bed sprawling and headed over to my computer to do that important research, as I often did. I forgot my coffee table exists and stubbed my toe. The heavy table shifted inches across the wooden floor and pain shot through me like a shockwave. I don't remember which expletive left my mouth involuntarily that time, but it was definitely one of them. I was so annoyed. Every damn time I could just move the table. Why don't I ever just move the fucking table? Are you okay? My heart leapt in my chest. I physically jumped back on one leg. I thought she wasn't home, and I forgot how close she could sound. It scared the shit out of me. She also spoke quite loudly. She probably assumed it would be harder to hear through the wall than it was. Oh, yeah, I'm good. Sorry, I just stubbed my toe, I responded back in a shaky voice. Shit, that sucks. I could hear a chuckle in her voice. She was clearly amused. Her volume decreased to match mine. I laughed in return. It happens all the time. So sorry to disturb you. No, it's fine. I'm just reading. You sure you're good? That sounded violent, she responded, sounding half concerned and half joking. Yeah, no, I'm all right. It sounded worse than it was. It's a heavier table and the walls here, I began to explain before she cut me off. They're really thin, huh? She finished my thought and then continued. I can hear you so well, that's insane. I'm surprised I didn't hear you before now. Alright, thank you for the hydrate, Nate. Oh my gosh, dropping my controller. Slushy, you're not a dork? You absolutely are a dork. In fact, I don't think a single one of you in chat is not a dork. And that's okay. I like you. I like you dorks. And answers I won't get because you're too shy. Sniper, you've just been listening and only just realized. What on earth are you listening to? It's a story about someone in the apartment next door. We don't really know more than that. Yeah, I guess I'm quiet. And, well, I'm at work most of the day and get home late. So, I didn't like how awkward I sounded. I think I forgot how to have a normal conversation. Has it been noisy for you? I'm sorry if it was. I didn't know. I just moved in. She sounded very kind and friendly. I was taken aback by it a little bit. Oh, don't be sorry, and Nothing much. I think I probably heard you talking on the phone a bit the other night. I didn't listen in or anything. I put on my headphones, I explained. I hoped she believed me about the headphones. It was the truth, but it's hard to trust that sort of thing. I didn't mention the crying. I didn't want her to feel awkward or anything. Oh, sorry about that, she said. I detected a hint of confusion in her voice, but I ignored it. It's okay. I'm sorry I didn't tell you earlier. I just didn't know when it would be a good time, and it's new to me too. I didn't have a neighbor before, I don't think. As I spoke, I found it harder to rationalize why I hadn't told her before now. I really should have. Really? How long have you been here? She asked. 2 years. No one lived here before me for 2 years? Are you sure? She was very perplexed. Well, honestly, no, I'm not sure. I just never heard anyone before, and I never saw anyone before. I probably sounded like a total recluse, but I was more interested in why she was so confused. Oh, that's strange. I'm pretty sure there were people living here right before me, at least that's what the guy said. Her tone had shifted, and what she said sent a bit of a shiver down my spine. It didn't make any sense. How could I not hear them, not once, when I can practically hear this woman breathing? After a brief silence, she spoke again and returned to a more casual tone. Well, maybe they weren't around much. Maybe it was a second home or something. Anyways, sorry about the noise again. I'll get some soundproofing stuff from my end right away. I admired her positivity, and I didn't feel any judgment from her for how strange I probably came across. It was really nice, and she had a point about it being a second home. That could be the case. I don't know why they would have a second home in this shitty building, but what else could the explanation be? I'm Jane, by the way. Nice to kinda meet you, she added in a chipper manner. While it was refreshing to have such a pleasant interaction, a small part of me worried about her. She was so carefree and optimistic, almost naive. She must be new to the city. I wondered how long it would take before this place whittled at her trust in humanity. The trust that she seemed to give me so freely. The thought of her spirits being slowly crushed like mine made me sad. I'm Lee. Nice to meet you. A small impulse told me not to give my name, but I decided to reciprocate her trust. And yeah, I'll soundproof my end too. Have a good rest of your night, and be careful, she said. I found that slightly ominous, but then I remembered the toe thing. I will, I chuckled. Enjoy your book. Nate, story theory. The coma and this neighbor is their subconscious? Interesting. I don't know. Has there been anything to indicate a coma? I guess they are accident prone. Maybe something with the repeating the same routine over and over? I don't know. Admiral, I think you're taking like the worst definition of that. A contemptible, socially inept person. Jeez. I use it fondly. You are my dorks, and that is a good thing. Where was I? I lost my spot. Oh, there I am. That was my first conversation with the girl in 402. Over that weekend, we spent a lot of time getting acclimated to each other's presence as we waited to get our soundproofing. I expected it to be a lot more awkward than it was. I attribute all of that to her. She had a way of making everything seem fine and almost playful. She would knock on the wall 2 times and say things like, "About to vacuum, sorry," and "my bad" when she would make a noise. I would follow her lead and do the same 2 knocks. It was kinda nice. Out of the blue on Sunday, she knocked twice and said, "You know, it's weird. I don't hear my neighbors on the other side at all. Only you." We pondered over that a bit. She didn't seem to sweat it much, but it was odd that it was only on one side. These odd things were beginning to stack up a bit. Why just this wall? Why only now? I began to wonder if more odd things have been happening all along and I'm just starting to notice them now. Monday night, I got home to find my package had arrived. The soundproofing was here. It was a little bittersweet seeing it on my doorstep. I knocked twice and told her I got it. She confirmed that she got hers too. She actually went out and physically bought it. I guess that speaks to the kind of people we are. We both said we'd put it up right away, both of us not wanting to continue to inconvenience each other any longer. But then that didn't end up happening. Instead, we just kept talking. I didn't mean to, and I don't think she did either. But we just kept finding more to say. The friendly small talk about the building and whatnot gave way to more meaningful conversation. We talked about how we got to where we were. We talked about where we wanted to go from here. I wound up sitting on the floor with my back to her wall, and I could hear her words right behind my head as if we were back to back. Luckily, the paint on that bit of the wall was dry now. To her, this place was a fresh start. She didn't go into detail, and I didn't want to pry, but it was clear that this was some kind of escape from something. Maybe that's why she was so upbeat, because she was able to escape a bad situation. Or maybe she was just always this upbeat. Aelhama Tokita, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. I'm glad you're enjoying this story. She told me that she was going to enroll in the college here, and that she was going to start an online shop, work as a waitress on the side. Eventually, she wanted to open a restaurant. She told me where and what the name of the theme would be. She told me all these plans, all these wonderful things she wanted to do, all laid out step by step. I don't know what was preventing her from doing them before, but it made me smile, hearing how excited she was about them. Something about the conviction in her voice made me truly believe she could do it all. Then she asked me about my plans. I froze up a bit. I didn't have plans. I wish I did. I wish I was envious of people who did. But I could never seem to figure it out. At some point, I think I shut that part of me off entirely. This was as far as I got, is what I told her. We sat in silence for a bit after that. There's still time, she said softly, breaking the silence. I could feel in her voice a new level of comfort and safety. All guards were down on both sides. She knew what I needed to hear, and I knew somehow that those words meant more coming from her than they would anyone else. We simply got each other. In that moment, there was no wall. Mugger, thanks for the posture check. Alright, everyone. Back straight, shoulders back, and get them boobs out. Get that proper posture, everyone. We want to see you tall and proud. Nate, with some accident happening due to them being clumsy and seeming not to remember much. Maybe Jane was someone who was close with the main character before the accident. That could be. I wonder if it's significant that her name is Jane too, like, Jane Doe sort of thing. I don't know. Right, excuse me for just a moment. I need to blow my nose. You probably didn't need to know that part, but I guess I'm oversharing. We have no walls, just like they don't. Alright, give me just a sec. Alright, that's better. Sorry about that. Uh-oh. There we are. Alright, back to our story. Eventually, we said goodnight and agreed to put the panels up tomorrow. Those soft, comforting words rattled around in my brain all night long. They never really left. I woke up early the next day, and I began putting them up before work. I was a bit sad at first, but it's not like she was gone or anything. She was still right next door. We could just be friends normally now. I went to work excited about the idea. On my way home, I decided I would properly introduce myself face to face, just to say hi. I felt confident enough in doing so by this point of knowing her. I got up to the door of 402, and after a brief hesitation, I did the 2 knocks. About 2 minutes passed, and there was no answer. I tried again, still nothing. I was disappointed, but not dejected. She must not be around. I'll try again tomorrow, I thought. When I got inside, I was immediately struck by how much quieter it was. All that constant city noise was getting absorbed by the panels. I didn't even think about that. I wasn't used to this kind of quiet. Now every small sound was large. I felt vulnerable. Like all the noise was a big comfy blanket I could hide under, and now I'm exposed like a nerve. It would take some getting used to. An hour passed in this utter dreary silence. I tried to brave it without distraction, to try and acclimate as quickly as possible, but it was just too freaky. So I had to put on some music. Not 5 seconds into the song, I heard, "No way," coming from the wall. It was her. "Jane, you can still hear me?" I almost shouted in disbelief. "Did you put your things up?" she responded. Her voice was exactly as clear as before. "Yeah, did you?" "I covered the whole wall," she shouted. What the hell? I was feeling mixed emotions. On one hand, it was nice to talk to her again. On the other hand, what the hell? We were both utterly stumped by this. Neither of us could come up with an explanation or a solution. She offered to try and ask the super to come do something. I told her she could try. Booby Schmooby. That is a wonderful name. Welcome to chat, or welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for the follow. Eventually, we settled back down and accepted the situation. Well, shit. I guess you're here to stay, she said. I guess I am. I couldn't tell if she was happy about this or annoyed. Couldn't quite tell if I was either. Alright. I hope you like ABBA then. I hated ABBA. This was a nightmare. We resumed our routine from the days before. It remained mildly inconvenient while also being oddly comforting. That night we talked more, sat in the same spots on the floor as the night before. I don't know why we chose to sit on the floor when both of our beds were right there. But it felt right. The discoloration of the new patch of paint on the wall marked the talking spot perfectly. And it felt a bit nostalgic. It's not often you sit on the floor as an adult. Sword Swiper, you heard Booby and came back immediately. Dork. With all the excess noise being drowned out, it felt like she was even closer. I could literally hear her breathing. We talked a little bit about our upbringings, and we aren't terribly different. Her dad sucked, my dad died. We all got fucked up somehow. The good news is she informed me that I don't snore loudly at night, which is a huge relief. I laid up in bed after she had said goodnight. I still hadn't acclimated to the silence, and now I had to bear it if I wanted to sleep. It wasn't working. I was just awake with my thoughts, which is a place I usually hate being. But not so much tonight. I thought about Jane, and I thought about the weirdness of this situation. As odd as it all was, it was at least interesting. By far the most interesting thing to happen to me since I moved here. I began having those middle-of-the-night urges to Google the principles of sound waves and how they travel, or how often apartments are vacant for long periods of time. But I resisted, determined that if I laid here unmoving in the dark long enough, sleep would happen. Briefly piercing the silence, I heard a mattress creak a few times and blanket shift. It sounded like she rolled over, then back to nothing. I checked the clock. 2 a.m. Maybe sleep was hopeless. I stared into the dark of my apartment so long I started seeing abstract shapes and folds in and out of the shadows, and the walls seemed to wobble. As they are wont to do. I was so tired. I began to fade, but then another mattress creak brought me back to lucidity. This one was different. It was a deeper creak, and singular, like one fluid motion. She sat up. Without question, that was the sound, but that was the only sound. No creaks, no fidgeting, no swiping sounds of blankets moving while she slowly awoke. It was strange and abrupt. It could be that she had a nightmare, but there was no heavy breathing or gasping or any of that. I waited to hear another sound, but it didn't come. Oh my gosh, I totally just lost my spot. Where did I go? Yeah, no swiping, sword swiper. Gotta get yourself under control. Oh my gosh, where did I go? I'm gonna get a drink while I look for my spot. How did I get so lost? Oh, there we are. Okay. I waited to hear another sound, but it didn't come. A half hour passed. I didn't hear her get out of bed. I didn't hear her lay back down. Was she just sitting? My mind began to paint a picture of a woman sitting still in bed in the pitch black darkness, and it unnerved me. Maybe she did lay back down, just slowly and softly enough that I didn't hear it, I thought. Maybe she had her book or something. She said she was reading the other day. Maybe she never sat up at all, and I mistook that sound for something else. I didn't hear anything else that night, and about an hour later I managed to get some sleep. I wondered if I could bring this up to her. Would it be weird? Eventually I decided against it. I don't want her thinking about me listening to her sleep. The situation is already a bit uncomfortable as it is when it comes to privacy. Plus, it was probably nothing. The next night, I got home and double knocked on the wall. She double knocked back. This was our new normal. Hey, never date a tennis player. You know why? She said. Why's that? I responded through my grin as I dealt with the water bucket once again. Love means nothing to them. She made sure to sound extra dramatic. That's, wow. That's tremendous, I responded, bemused. I'm gonna hit you with one of those every day, I decided, she said emphatically. Wait, am I missing something? I don't get it. It is a joke, right? Hey, never date a tennis player. Love means nothing to them. Does love mean something in tennis? Like, is that maybe I just don't know enough about tennis. I don't get it, though. Oh, well. Oh, love means 0 point... Oh, that's weird. Why is that a thing? Why does love mean 0 points in tennis? Huh. Well, thank you, Nate. Yeah, I was totally lost. I thought I misread something. Most silliest oh my gosh, I love that name. There's some good names today. I love to call y'all goobers. So I am very glad to have the most silliest goober in my midst. Love your avatar. Thank you so much. It is actually both publicly available and available to purchase. I think I have the links, maybe not for the public version anymore, but I do have the link for the paid version, I think, down below. So, but yeah, I love this avatar. It is so pretty. Thank you so much, Goober. 15-0 is just set as 15 love. That is so weird. Rick Seeger, I feel like I've seen you before. Maybe I saw you somewhere else, but thank you for following. I really, really appreciate it. We always love having new people here. Alright, let's get back to our story. That's right. This is why I don't have a boyfriend. They all run away. But you can't run away. I can move away. No, you can't. You're broke as shit just like me. If you could have, you would have by now. She had a point. So, deal with it. Here. What do you call a beehive with no exit? No, no more. This is harassment. I weep for your future husband. When you bring a man over, I'm going to shout at him, run as fast as he can. I will just scream bloody murder until he leaves. Unbelievable. God damn it, I like that one, I replied. I couldn't lie. Also, I'm never bringing a man over here. Are you kidding? You hear enough as it is. Again, she had a point. We went about our business, and later that night we talked a bit more. These floor chats before bed we'd started having had become a highlight of my day, and I began to look forward to them while I was at work. Part of my brain was trying to recontextualize this into a romantic thing, but it really wasn't that, and I didn't want it to be. At least not right now. It was just nice. It was nice having someone to talk to, who was easy to talk to, who made me laugh, and who I felt comfortable with. It was nice to feel genuinely connected to somebody after feeling disconnected for so long. It was nice to have a friend. Can I ask you something? I inquired. Yeah, she answered without hesitation. Why did you trust me so early on? I had this question for a while, but I felt comfortable enough to ask now. Jane paused for a moment before responding. What makes you think I trusted you? I was a bit taken aback by her question. Oh, well, you were just so friendly and open. I was just wondering, this is a seedy place and you don't know me. She cut me off. I was friendly, yeah, but that's how you have to be. That's like customer service voice. I don't want to anger the strange man living next to me, you know? That made a lot of sense. I didn't think of it that way. She continued, but I trust you now. Yeah? Yeah, I think you're a good guy. I think you probably won't kill me. What about me? Do you trust me? I mean, I'm still not 100% convinced you exist, to be honest. I've still never seen you. You didn't answer your door when I tried to say hi, so you might just be a figment of my imagination. Who's to say? I joked, but a part of me thought that would actually explain things. Wait, when was this? She asked, sounding surprised. Oh, after we put up the soundproofing. I was gonna say hi when I got home from work, but you didn't answer. Nate, coma theory real? It could be. We could also have like, what's the movie? Is it You've Got Mail? I don't remember. No, it's The Lake House. No, The Notebook? The Lake House. I think it's The Lake House, where they're like getting mail from each other, but they're in like different time period or different like decades or something like that. Gosh, why can't I remember? I haven't seen it in a long time. But yeah, they open the mailbox and they get the mail from the person who was at the lake house like years before or years later, something like that. Same apartment but different times. Yeah, it might be something Might be something along those lines, maybe? But I don't know. This one's weird because they hint at unsettling vibes every now and then, but we really haven't seen anything unsettling other than, there's sound when there shouldn't be. So I'm still not sure about this, but I'm definitely intrigued. Oh, after we put up the soundproofing, I was gonna say hi when I got home from work, but you didn't answer. Really? Damn, I didn't hear you, she responded, sounding legitimately disappointed. Well, that's a first, I joked. Jane chuckled. I know, right? I sighed. Alright, I gotta try to get some sleep tonight. Last night was fucking awful. Yeah? I slept like a baby last night. These soundproofing things rule. She slept like a baby? The image in my head of her sitting up in her bed replayed and gave me chills once again. Clearly I must be mistaken. I shook off the thought. Well, I still need to get used to it. Good night, Jane. Ooh, or this might be a stretch, but what if... that wouldn't explain the sound stuff, though. I was gonna say, what if Jane is an alter, or something along those lines? I don't know. No, that doesn't explain very much. It would I don't know. Just thinking. Kind of like your name, but no body switching. Kinda, yeah. Hear you later, Lee. That corny son of a bitch. She was serious about doing those jokes every day, wasn't she? I heard her get up and make her way to bed. A few minutes later, her side fell quiet. I crawled into my bed and once again stared into the dark. Sleep still wasn't coming easy. I dreaded this, but this time it only took about an hour to fall asleep, of which I was grateful. The silence still unsettled me. Alright, let me get a drink real quick. Hi, Cobeans. It's good to see you. How are you doing? Much love to you as well. Really not sure why my throat is so dry today. Suddenly, I awoke, still in the darkness, even deeper now. I don't know what woke me up, but when I checked the clock, it was 2 a.m. I wasn't happy. I tried to fall back to sleep, and it was slowly working until I heard it again. That same deep bed creak. Hi, Pinky. It's good to see you. That unmistakable sound of someone sitting up. Now I was fully awake. Minutes passed and I heard nothing else. Same as before. Like she was just sitting there. This time, however, I just had to know. I was confused, concerned, and pretty creeped out. So I just leaned close to the wall and whispered, Jane? Nothing happened at first. But then I heard the bed very slowly begin to creak again. Agonizingly slow and subtle. It sounded like she was turning, or at least adjusting her position in some way. I heard what sounded like her hands touching the wall, splayed out, far apart on either side of me. And then I heard her breathing. I could only hear her breathe before when we were sitting back to back against the wall. So she must have been pressed right up against it. Her breathing sounded different this time, though. It sounded hollow, like she had a cold. I was petrified. The hair on the back of my neck was standing on end. What was she doing? Was she even awake? What must she look like right now? I just stared at the wall, imagining her on the other side, pressed up against it like some feral thing. Was this really happening? Am I just too tired and loopy to be able to tell? Maybe the creaking was her laying back down and she's just breathing heavier than normal because she's asleep. I wanted to rationalize this so badly. Hey, beautiful. Hi, Pinky. I hope you've been having a wonderful day. Nate, you yourself was pretty ill this weekend, stuffy all Saturday and blocked up until a couple hours before stream. Oh, I'm sorry, Nate. A lot of people seem to be sick right now. I've definitely noticed it a lot at work and even people on VR chat as well. I'm glad you're feeling a little better now, though. I waited for something else to happen, some other sound. I waited hours, but nothing did. And I was too scared to say anything else. Was she still there? Was she pressed against the wall all night long? I tried to get a little bit of sleep. I managed maybe 45 minutes, but it was not pleasant. I couldn't focus on work the next day. I was tired, and I was so creeped out by what happened. I couldn't think of an explanation, but I knew there had to be one. There had to be something. I couldn't get the image out of my head. Every time that image replayed, she looked a little bit less human. I pictured her smiling, a grotesque, toothy grin. I imagined her drooling, her eyes open as wide as saucers, her fingers long and bony caressing the wall. None of this was rooted in reality. I knew that, but I couldn't help but think of it. I got back home, and this time I hesitated before doing my customary knocks on the wall. But I did, and she returned them, same as always. I was just thinking, mankind has made a lot of great inventions, Jane. But the dry erase board has to be one of the most remarkable. I laughed. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to laugh at her jokes today, but I did. She's still Jane. At least she seems to be. I was way overthinking. That one's pretty good, I can't lie. You like it? She asked, sounding proud of herself. I do. Hey, I have to ask you something, though, I said, trying to remain at least somewhat casual. Shoot. Do you sleepwalk? The other side went silent for a minute. No, never in my life, she responded, instantly sounding unnerved. I fell silent too. I didn't know how to explain, but she continued. That's a scary-ass question to ask out of nowhere. Did you hear something? I heard... I don't know exactly what I heard. Stop. Don't talk like that. Is this revenge for my corny jokes? I'll stop the corny jokes. Don't do this to me, she pleaded in a half-joking manner. No, I promise I'm not messing with you, and it's probably nothing. It's just... You didn't get up at all last night? Or the night before? No, I did not get up. Nathaniel Booty Warrior. It's very good to see you, Nathaniel. I'm glad you're enjoying the stream enough to want to follow. Some very interesting names today. I hope you have a good time fighting the good fight against our sworn enemies, the booties. No, I didn't get up at all. Please tell me what you heard, she said firmly. I told Jane everything that happened. I tried to be delicate, but also honest. I trusted that she didn't know what was going on. That became evident to me by how freaked out she seemed. I know it sounded crazy. I just hoped that she didn't think I was messing with her. It was difficult to tell from her tone. Thank you for the hydrate, Nathaniel. I appreciate it. I've been having a really dry throat during this stream. I don't know why. Maybe because it's just so dry. Oh wow, we're almost an hour and a half into stream. I didn't realize it'd been so long. Hi, J Pro. It's good to see you. How are you doing? Hugs for everyone who has shown up who hasn't got a hug yet. And the rest of you can take an extra hug too, I suppose. I won't be stingy. Oh, you don't know why Twitch didn't give you the notification? Well, darn. Yeah, I don't know. I know some people have some issues with the Twitch notifications, so I guess that's just something that happens sometimes. Ooh, Dishonored and Alien Isolation. Good couple of games. I could only get so far into Dishonored, though. I thought it was interesting, but it wasn't what I was expecting when I went into it, so I didn't get as into it as I think I would have another time. Alien Isolation I still need to play. I bought it on sale a while back, but I haven't touched it. Initially, she wanted to debunk it all, saying that I must have heard something else, which I admittedly could very well be true. Nevertheless, she told me she was going to stay with her sister for the night. Probably a good idea. She gave me her phone number and told me to call if anything happened. That put my mind at ease about whether or not she trusted me. I told her to be safe, and she tried once again to reassure me that it was probably nothing, but I felt a sense of immense dread as soon as she left. Suddenly, I really didn't want to be alone here. That night was the quietest of my life, and not in a good way. I thought about drowning it out by putting on some music or a movie, but nothing felt right. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to sleep that night, but eventually I managed. I ended up having a dream about a woman wearing a veil. Through the veil, I could vaguely make out 3 large black holes where her eyes and mouth should be. I couldn't recall anything that happened in the dream, only the image of that woman. I wondered if that was my subconscious way of trying to visualize Jane. I still didn't know what she actually looked like, so maybe my brain was having trouble coming up with distinct features for her. Or maybe it was something else entirely. So, quick note about dreams. And a question. For those of you who remember your dreams, how clearly do you see faces in them? Because for me, when I have dreams, I will know what the person looks like, but it's not so much that I can't remember it. It's like looking back onto it, the features were all just not very well defined. J Pro. You just love it for the killing and the alien. Oh, you just love Dishonored for the killing, and Alien Isolation was playing survival mode, but it was so scary you only made it so far. I've thought about playing it on stream sometime, actually. J-Pro, most of your dreams are nightmares or neutral. You remember them very vividly, including faces, feelings, and thoughts. I remember some dreams pretty vividly. I used to remember them a lot more vividly when I was younger. Nate, you see them exactly to where you can describe them in detail all the way down to the birthmarks. Interesting. Yeah, that's just kind of always been a thing for me. Like, even when it's a person I know, like in hindsight, the faces are just never clear. They're always kind of just vague. Alright, back to our story. I was just curious. I wonder if this is some like people in the wall type stuff in this story. It was still dark when I awoke from the dream. I felt a deep unease as I checked the time. 2 a.m. again. This time I wasn't eager to fall back to sleep. I didn't want to see the veiled woman again, so I stayed up a little while longer, attempting to ease my mind. I thought of every possible way to reassure myself. Eventually, I began to fall into a facade of comfort, until... Creak. I went ice cold. No, this can't be. I didn't just hear that. It was the same sitting up creak, but I heard Jane leave. Could she have come back late while I was sleeping? Maybe, but what if it isn't her? What if it was never her? My mind raced. So many improbable scenarios played out in my mind. None of them were good. Was someone else in there with her the whole time and she didn't know? Someone hiding away, only coming out when she's sleeping? Was that creak her sitting up or someone else sitting down? Do they watch her sleep? All I knew for sure was that someone was on the other side of this wall, because I could hear them breathing again. I wanted to do something. I wanted to know for sure, but I was powerless. Calling out to it last time was the most horrific mistake of my life. I didn't want to try that again. I wanted to call Jane, but I was afraid of making a sound. Instead, I just waited and listened. I was in a petrified daze, hyper alert, but also completely exhausted. My body wanted to shut down, but my brain wouldn't let me. It may have been minutes or it may have been hours, I couldn't tell. The image of the veiled woman kept reappearing in the back of my subconscious. Hi, Derpy. Thank you for the hydrate. I've missed having you. Nate has been taking care of a lot of the hydrates today in your place. I was saying earlier, I don't know why my throat's so dry today, but it is. Oh, you've been lurking, just kind of sick right now, so not talking much. No worries. I hope you feel better soon. I hope you're not pushing yourself by being on at all. Like, if you need to just go lie down and get some rest, like, you don't need to feel pressured to be here. J-Pro, maybe I'm getting sick too. I was kind of worried about that yesterday, or was it the day before? I don't remember. But I did feel like something was kind of coming on, but it didn't seem like it was progressing at all. Could definitely be me getting sick, though. That's definitely a possibility. It's that time of year. J-Pro, you just got over yours. I'm glad you got over yours at least. Derpy, just a sore throat and a mild fever. You're fine to watch. Okay, make sure you're drinking lots of water and making sure you eat some stuff. Although I know that can be hard with a sore throat. Just get something that doesn't hurt too much. Eventually, I decided to call Jane. If I heard a phone ring on the other side, then I would know. I typed in the number and hit call. The number you are trying to reach is not in service. What? How could that be? Suddenly, cutting through the silence, was a sound I had become very familiar with, and yet was the one sound I was the least prepared for. Knock, knock. A wave of shock shot through me. It was our knock. I didn't dare respond. If that isn't her, that means whoever it is has been listening to us. Now they're trying to reach out to me. They know I can hear them. But what if it's just her? She came back and was trying to see if I'm still awake. The thoughts whirled around like a hurricane. I couldn't bear it. I couldn't bear the silence. I couldn't bear the uncertainty. It was all too much. Thank you for the follow, Christopher Alex. I'm glad you're enjoying the stream enough to want to follow and hang out with us. And I hope you're enjoying the story. Oh, ginger ale. I haven't had ginger ale for a long time. I used to like to drink it just normal. I got up, I grabbed my keys and I left. As I walked out into the hallway, I saw her door. It looked the same as it always has, but to me, right now, it was a portal to hell. Someone or something was on the other side of that door. It might be pressed up against it. It might be looking out the peephole at me. I darted away. I simply couldn't be here anymore. I got outside, and suddenly I could breathe again. The noise of the bustling city greeted me like an old friend. I never thought I would find such comfort in it. I sat down on the bench in front of my building. I wasn't going to go back, not while the sun was down. I knew where my window was, so I knew where 402's window was. I didn't want to look at it, but I had to. It was completely black. I couldn't see anything inside. That was good, I thought. But that didn't stop me from feeling like I was being watched. I felt eyes up there looming over me. I couldn't rationalize it, but something inside was telling me that whatever was in 402 wasn't a person. I fought against that thought for a long time, but I was starting to accept it. I tried my best to ignore it all. It wasn't easy. Eventually I laid down on the hard wooden slats and was able to get some much-needed shut-eye. I slept better than the last few nights. I called in sick to work the next morning. I wanted to be here when Jane got home, or to see if she was already home. And last night was a massive overreaction. I felt safer seeing the sunlight beaming through my windows when I got back inside. I tried to occupy myself by catching up on some household chores as the back of my mind waited anxiously for the next sound. I heard nothing all day. The longer it went on, the more sure I became that Jane wasn't home. As the sun set, it was apparent that she decided to stay with her sister for another night, meaning that yesterday night definitely wasn't her. Also meaning that I was here alone for another night. I tried calling again. I don't know why I expected the outcome to be different. Still wasn't in service. I made extra sure I got the phone number right. It was exactly the number she said. Why would she give me the wrong number? Was it a new phone and she got it wrong by accident? Or did what I said to her really freak her out, and maybe she thinks I'm not to be trusted? She placated me with a false number and then got the hell away from me. That outcome would have hurt the most, but a third idea crept into my mind too. The idea that maybe she couldn't be trusted. I vehemently resisted the idea. Night fell, and the dread came with it. Part of me wanted to go outside to the bench again, but another part of me had to hear it one more time first. One more time to confirm that it was still in there, and then I could call the cops, because this needed to end. I don't know why the noises always seemed to start at 2, but that's what I was waiting for. As 1:59 turned over, my senses sharpened. I waited, and I waited, expecting that sit-up sound, only it didn't come. I had hoped that not hearing it would put my mind at ease, but that was not the case. It only put me more on edge. I felt like I was being watched. I felt like the thing on the other side knew I was listening. I couldn't hear anything, but I could feel the presence. It was there. I knew it. I just needed confirmation. The longer the silence went on, the more doubt began to creep in. The doubt infuriated me. All of this was doubt. Every second of this nightmare was doubt and possibility and maybe. I knew nothing. Nothing made sense. I was afraid and I was frustrated. So I made a decision. I stood facing the wall, carefully picking up my phone in one hand and my keys in the other, ready to run and dial 911 at a moment's notice. I gathered up all the courage I had and prepared to speak. I had to call out to it. I had to know that I wasn't crazy. I opened my mouth, but before the words could escape, Lee, a soft voice whispered through the wall, and it was Jane. She sounded further away, and her voice had a slight echo to it, but it was unmistakably her voice. Jane? The word fell out. My voice cracked. Help me. She sounded afraid, hushed, like she didn't want to wake something. Jane, what's going on? I had a million questions. I was frantic, but I quieted my voice to match hers. Suddenly, I was afraid to wake it too. Please help me, Lee. How are you there? When did you get back? I whispered, not covering my desperation. I see it, she continued. A shiver went down my spine. I am going to call the cops right now. They'll be right there. It was the only solution I had. I don't want to die. She fell silent after that, but I heard the breathing against the wall again. The hair on my arms stood on end. I was too scared to think straight, but I knew this wasn't right. It was her voice, but it couldn't have been her. Knock, 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 knock. I had enough. I ran out into the hallway and dialed 911. I told them there was an intruder. I kept it vague because vague is all I had. As I spoke, I kept my eyes on her door. I wouldn't let it out of my sight. If it left, I would see it. If it stayed, they would catch it. I hoped. They advised me to stay in my apartment and lock the door. I didn't listen. It took around 40 minutes for them to arrive. 2 officers arrived on my floor, and the building manager was with them with keys to let them into her unit. I think his name was Larry. Like I said, I forgot a lot of names and faces. He shot me a brief glare when he saw me standing there. I probably woke him up with all of this. I wanted to get a glimpse into the room, but I was ushered away, back into my unit. My stomach was in knots with stress. I just wanted this to be over. I didn't know what to expect. Would there be shouting? Would I hear a fight? Would there be gunshots? A part of me had a feeling, a dreadful feeling, that they would get in there and they wouldn't find anything. A stretch and a hydrate? All right, Derpy, let's take a quick stretch and a hydrate. Whispers through the wall. It was Joe Biden. You guys are something else. All right, let's do the stretch first and then the hydrate. All right, you all, if you've been sitting as much as I have throughout this stream, go ahead and get up and do some stretching. Get that blood flowing a little. We don't want blood clots or anything of that nature. I hope you all are enjoying this story. It's definitely a slow burn, to be sure, but overall I've been liking it. This last little stretch has no pun intended, this last little stretch has been particularly interesting. It's a very subtle horror. Oh my gosh. A very subtle horror. Why am I so bad at balancing? I blame the headset. I'm not this bad at balancing when I don't have the headset on. Don't get me wrong, I'm still pretty bad at balancing, but not as bad. Okay. Right, and now a hydrate. Sniper, you're just too excited and happy. Slushy, you soaked your sweatshirt. You use your tail for balance. Oh my gosh, you guys. All right. Oh, Sniper, you got the confidence to ask out your VR chat crush and he said yes? Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. I'm so happy for you, Sniper. Congratulations. I hope things go well for you two. Right. Let's continue our story. I think we might have a long stream today. I don't know if we're going to finish in time. Where are we? There we are. Minutes passed. I waited and waited, but I couldn't hear anything from the wall, not a peep. Why aren't they going inside? I thought out loud. Suddenly there was a knock on my door. I opened the door and sure enough it was the officers, flanked by Larry. They told me what I was afraid of. We searched the apartment and couldn't find any signs of someone living in there. You went inside? I questioned. I knew they didn't go inside. We searched the entire unit up and down. There was no one in there, but if you hear anything again... After that point, I tuned out. I exchanged the default pleasantries and they went on their way. I couldn't find a shit to give in any of their words, and I was too frustrated and exhausted to search for it. I tried to get answers. Instead, I ended up with yet another question atop the pile. Why wouldn't they go inside? What did Larry tell them? I knew I wasn't getting any sleep that night. All I could do was sit on the bed and overthink. This was all bigger than I thought it was. Jane could have been in on it. Larry could have been in on it. The police could have been in on it for all I know. I really didn't want to believe that Jane was in on it. And the way Larry glared at me, maybe it wasn't "screw you for waking me up in the middle of the night." Maybe I stirred something up that I wasn't supposed to. Maybe the problem wasn't with Jane. Maybe there wasn't an intruder, a creature, or even a ghost. Maybe it was the room itself. As I sat and drove myself crazy with these theories, a new sound shot into my ear and sent my heart up into my throat. Some kind of rapid clacking sound. Almost sounded like someone button mashing a controller, but not as plasticky. I jumped off the bed and the sound stopped. The room wasn't done with me yet. I had never heard this sound before. I couldn't place it at first. But once the initial shock wore off, I knew exactly what it sounded like. It sounded like teeth chattering. I didn't want to believe that that's what it was. There are lots of things that sound similar to teeth chattering. If it was any other circumstance, I could easily debunk it as the place settling. Little rhythmic cracking of hard materials rubbing together, bending. But this isn't any other circumstance. I was frozen in fear once again. The images my mind involuntarily conjured up were instantly traumatizing. A wide, chattering, horse-like bloody mouth upon a gaunt, sunken face. A naked man with hungry mouths strewn all over his body. A zipper made of teeth going all the way down a human head so it can open like a Venus flytrap. Those chattering mouth toys you get from a joke store, haphazardly sewn into human flesh. I pleaded with my imagination to stop, but it simply wouldn't. The mouth abominations, the veiled woman, the ghoulish watcher pressed against the wall. All my imagination, but imagination is powerful when reality is vague. One of them could be real. If this thing even has a form, maybe it was just a shadow in the dark. The sounds began again. Now I heard scratching at the wall, not hard, not ferocious. Little light scrapes, nearly inaudible. Like it was kind of just picking at it or scribbling against it. It sounded like having a rat in the walls. I used to be afraid of rats, I thought. Now I would love nothing more than for this to be only a rat. The sound began to change. Those little scrapes and scribbles along the wall morphed somehow. I couldn't tell if it was just my tired mind changing them the way my tired eyes could make the stucco ceilings move and warble. But the sound changed nevertheless. The scribbles began to sound breathy. They started sounding more like whispers than scribbles. The content of the whispers was indiscernible. My mind went to someone in a small padded room, sitting in the corner with their legs curled up to their chest, shaking and whispering incoherent gibberish to themselves. There was an almost hypnotic effect to the whispers. I resisted the urge to move closer, to try and make out any words hidden in the almost silent muttering. I wouldn't have the opportunity to try, however, because suddenly a blood-curdling scream exploded through the wall. I almost leapt out of my skin. It wasn't just any scream, it was Jane's voice. I had never heard a scream so horrific in my life, but it was enough to break me from the trance I was falling into. I grabbed my keys and ran outside as fast as I could. I spent another night on the bench outside. At least whatever was left of the night by this point. Even outside and far away from the room, sleep wouldn't come. The images I conjured were too horrific, and the sounds replayed over and over. The deep, frustrating, impossible uncertainty of the situation loomed over me heavily, as did the eyes that I still felt watching me from the window. I was terrified, and I felt truly alone. Sniper, you think this is just a story of someone with schizophrenia? I kind of considered that. I've wondered that off and on as we've been going. Morning came, and I felt the relative safety of the sun. It took a while for me to gain the courage to re-enter my apartment, but I did. Then I went to work like always. Despite all this, despite being scared out of my mind, sleep deprived, and feeling like I'm going insane, life doesn't care. The world keeps turning, I still gotta eat. If this monotonous routine wasn't already so deeply ingrained in me, I might have had a full psychotic break by now, but my body was on autopilot. Plus, I didn't like being home anymore, even in the daytime. Last night was too much. I didn't go home right away after work. I delayed as much as I could. I thought about staying somewhere else, but if Jane was back and if she really was the friend I thought she was, I had to be there to warn her about the thing that uses her voice. There was also one more thing that compelled me to come back, a breadcrumb I had to follow. I got into my building, but instead of heading up to the 4th floor, I went straight to the front office. I hated this little room, unkempt, smelly, with a thick hum of fluorescent light tubes. Luckily, he was still there. Head down in some papers. I knew he had to have some kind of answers for me. He had to know something. "Larry, you got a minute?" I asked, trying my best to put some extra bass into my voice. "It's Mike." "Fuck." "Don't worry about it," he replied with a slight chuckle, then looked up to meet my gaze. When he saw me, his expression slightly changed. Have a seat." He seemed to be expecting this visit. He knew something. I could see it in him. I took the only seat without papers and envelopes all over it. "What can I do for you?" he asked. I had so many questions, but I wanted to choose the simplest and most broad one to start, just to see where he takes it. Only 4 words popped into my head right away. "What's wrong with 402? Mike gave me a half-hearted grin. He knew this was coming. "Look, kid, maybe it would do you good to just get out of there for a while, okay? Stay with a relative or something." "What are you talking about?" I responded, bewildered. "You know, city life. It's not for everyone. It drives us all a little crazy sometimes. I know I love to go camping every now and then with the old lady. Once or twice a summer, get away from all this. It just puts your mind right." I saw through his words, and I knew that he could read on my face that I wasn't accepting them. Tell me what's wrong with 402. Mike sat back in his chair and let out a deep sigh. I don't know. He said that like it was an answer, but he continued before I could press him. I wish I knew. It's just one of those things. It's just one of those things, I repeated, immediately put off by his tone. Okay. I don't really like to talk about it. I try not to. I find that's best. He paused, took a few seconds to find the words, then continued. People don't do well in 402, meaning they get scared and they leave or, whatever. I don't know what it is, and I'm not a superstitious type. There's just something wrong with it. That's all I can say. He explained. His body language changed. I saw him begin to fidget with his hands. Did anything happen in that room? I questioned. He took another big sigh. A lot of calls to the police, like yesterday, thinking there's an intruder, a man in the closet, a man under the bed, things like that. Spook house things. That's how it started. It all sounded like nonsense. Of course, the police find nothing every time. We get the place tested for a gas leak or what have you. Nada. So we carry on. What more can I do, right? A shockwave shot through me as he said all this. I was stunned. This was the first kind of confirmation I had gotten about any of this. It's all real, all of it, not just me. He continued. Then things start getting worse. People started doing things to themselves. You know what I mean? They started carving themselves up. Paramedics would be in and out. It was getting really bad. Sarah, my wife, she cleans the rooms up for the new tenants. They were in and out of 402 all the time, so she was in there a lot. One day, she tells me she can't go in there anymore. I ask why. She says because something is watching her. She says it knows her. She says something terrible is going to happen in there. I don't know what to make of that. She never went into 402 again. She doesn't even like going near the door because she thinks there's someone at the peephole. Then there was the disappearance. That girl went missing. You heard about that, right? I was ashamed to admit that I didn't. Maybe it came up, maybe at one point I was told, but it was long since forgotten. They presumed her dead. Never found her. I knew it had something to do with the room. So I closed it for good. Nobody in or out unless absolutely necessary. I didn't know what to say. I was horrified. What must all of these people have seen? I shuddered to think. But also, I still had questions. This sounded right, but there were glaring inconsistencies. I had to keep prodding. How did you get the police to go along with that? I asked first, attempting to remain composed. I didn't. They do their business. They're in and out quick. They never find anything, and they don't really ask. It's the city. No, but they didn't go inside the room last night. Why didn't they go in? Mike shot me a confused look. They did go in. They went in, they searched, they found nothing, like they always do. New guys, it's been a few years, but none of them do. I was getting frustrated again. Things weren't lining up. Why are you lying? Why lie about this? I know they didn't go in. I would have heard them if they went in. I hear everything that happens in there. And you clearly didn't close the room because you rented it out. It's occupied right now. And Jane said you told her about previous tenants when she moved in. So, there were people even before her. Thank you for the hydrate, Nate. This is very intriguing. I'm really interested to see how this all wraps up. It seems like there's still a decent chunk, maybe. Derpy, if you were the owner, you would have just boarded up the room. That might be the way to go with it, but I guess he's not the superstitious type, but if I was the superstitious type in that instance, I'd be afraid of, I don't know, like, if any of you have watched the Insidious movies, on Insidious 3? Yeah, 3. There's a part where a character gets pulled into another room, like through the floor or whatever, unless I'm misremembering. And so if I was superstitious in this instance, I'd be afraid of someone getting like stuck in that room and then it's boarded up so they can't get out, you know? But I don't know, there's a lot of weird stuff going on with this room. I'm very curious about it. Nate, you're the opposite. Out of sight, out of mind. Interesting. My two mods on the opposite end of this stuff. Mike's expression completely dropped. You think someone lives there right now? Yes, someone lives there. Don't lie to me, I asserted. No one has lived there for 8 years. I promise you, he said coldly. I was boiling over. I lost my composure entirely. Someone lives there. Jane lives there. We both know damn well she does. I've spoken to her almost every day since she moved in. I've heard her cook. I've heard her clean. I've heard her shitty music. She's my friend and she's in danger living in this fucking room. And you just let her go in for what? Your bottom line? You really need that extra rent money? What, for your camping trips? Mike raised his voice to match mine. Listen, buddy, I don't know what to tell you. Nobody lives in that fucking room. I won't allow it. You want to go see for yourself? Here. Mike rummaged around his desk and threw a set of keys at me. You have at it. Go have a look. It's an empty fucking room. And after you see that it's an empty room, do the smart thing. Don't stick around. Don't go inside. Lock it back up. Then pack your shit and get out because your room isn't safe anymore. Momo Kitty, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. I'm glad you're enjoying the story and want to stick around a bit. I was stunned. I was angry. I was confused and slightly ashamed. I had no more to say, so I turned to leave, but then he spoke up one more time. Oh, and by the way, you really are shit with the names, because Jane, that's the name of the girl who went missing. Jane Lewis. My whole body went numb as I walked out. This couldn't be the truth. I couldn't have been talking to a dead person this whole time. I had guessed that this thing was using her voice somehow, but that was only at night. It can't have all been fake. Jane was my friend. I couldn't believe it. I refused to believe it. That walk up to my floor was the longest of my life. Hi, Momo. How y'all this day? I'm doing pretty well. We're doing a long story today. We're actually over 2 hours now, and this has been the only story we're reading. I haven't even gotten as distracted as I usually do. It's definitely a slow burn, but I've been interested in it. How are you doing today, Momo? Admiral, burn the building. But we need answers. We don't get answers by burning the building. Derpy, regardless of being superstitious, having a room where police have to frequently come into must be really bad for business. That's very true, and that's why he doesn't rent it out, but I think if he boarded it up, if someone reported hearing sounds in there, I think they'd have to take the boards off to go check inside. Skinwalker? I don't think so. Skinwalkers are usually out in nature. And I need to brush up on skinwalker mythology, but I don't think you're likely to find one in this sort of environment. J Pro was downstairs, so you couldn't say anything, but you love the Insidious movies. Oh, yeah, I do too. Although honestly, I was very disappointed with the last movie that came out. I was so excited for, waiting for them to wrap up everything. Because, we got Insidious 2. They had that, little tease at the end. And then we got a bunch of, prequels and stuff, which I enjoyed. They were fun. But we were just waiting so long for them to continue that story, and it did not live up to what I wanted. Even if they get some harsh criticism. Yeah, people have a lot of feelings about Blumhouse as a studio in general. But I'm very fond of them. I love the Insidious movies, and I will always be happy to rave about them. But for now, let's finish our story. Oh, J-Pro? Agreed. I mean, I did like the Dalton time travel stuff, though. That was nice. I'm partial to time travel. Okay, you're... J-Pro, you're getting me distracted. You knew which button to press. So, for me, I was kind of meh about the first Insidious. I enjoyed it, but when it came out, but I was just yeah, it was okay. The second one came out. Loved the second one, and the first one was better because of the second one. Insidious is what I call a horror epic, and it's just my own term that I use for series that kind of pick up very directly where the others leave off. So, Insidious 2 picks up immediately after Insidious 1. And so it has that kind of epic vibe. I would also put Ju-on in that category as well, because we have a lot of picking up and overlap and stuff. It's not an official genre or subgenre, it's just kind of my own personal terminology. I don't remember where I was going with that, but yeah, I love Insidious. Elise is one of my favorite movie characters of all times. She is amazing. Every time she shows up, you're yes, it's gonna be okay. Elise is here. Slushy Insidious is decent. I'm of the opinion that some media and franchises, whatever, sometimes you just need to consume it with someone who is really passionate about it to fully understand things. Dark Souls, for instance. if you just go in on your own, you might not think much of it. But if you have someone who's really passionate and has delved a bit into the lore and kind of knows like how to approach the games, it can help usher you in so that you know how to appreciate it. It's like some media just needs, it's more of an acquired taste, I suppose. But yeah, I think Insidious is one of those where if you just take it at face value and like if you just watch the first movie and then just don't care, like I think you end up missing out, because for me at least, the second movie made the first movie so much better because of that weird further, I don't want to call it time travel exactly, but that weird dimensional interaction. You'll have, oh my gosh. Yeah, I think you did. I feel like I remember seeing the crooked man in one of your drawings at least. The crooked, yeah, I think you did post it, because I'm pretty sure I remember seeing a drawing with at least the crooked man and the nun. You're a big lover of art styles, so that and some of the lore got you. Oh yeah, we also talked about the musical dissonance, I think, in this server. The Insidious violins, they're so good. Anyway, okay. Enough of that. I could rant all day about horror movies. And I can go on for quite a while about the Insidious movies. But we've got a story to finish, and it looks like we get into some dialogue, so it might go a little quicker, but we do have a good chunk left. Horror movies, you say, oh my gosh, no, we can't get distracted. We can't be here for another hour. Oh, you brought up the dissidence of farts in a trombone. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, you are right. That is what brought it up. You'll save it for the Discord. Sounds good, Nate. All right, let's continue. Let me find where I left off and let me get a drink of water. Posture check. Thank you. You like The Matrix and John Wick? I like the first Matrix. I never really had much interest in the sequels. I should probably rewatch them, though. I don't think I've ever seen them all the way through. John Wick, I've only seen the first two, but fantastic movies. I loved both of those. Slushy, are you sure you don't like Keanu? Also Men in Black. Okay, Keanu's not in that one. Men in Black, I like the first Men in Black. The second one, and then I never watched International. Alright, posture check. Back straight, shoulders back, and boobs out. Y'all ready to finish this story? Let's get back into it. I approached 402. Why am I so crooked looking? Alright. I approached 402 with the key in my hand. I stopped in front of the door. I stood for what felt like hours. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Not right now. The thought of opening that door even for a moment, especially at night, was far too horrifying. I had to sit down and collect myself. I went inside my apartment and immediately sat on my bed. I wanted to cry. This was all too much. But all I could do was sit and shiver in silence until... Knock, knock. I didn't have time to be startled, as a familiar voice immediately accompanied the knocks. Hey, I'm back. I stayed an extra night. I bet you loved the peace and quiet. Anything happen? You didn't call, so I'm hoping we're all good. You gave me quite a scare. Jane, in her normal, casual, optimistic Jane voice. I wanted to be able to trust her so badly. I needed a friend right now, and she made it so easy to trust her. So easy. How do I talk to her? What could I say? I couldn't find the words. You there? She asked calmly. Your number. It said it was out of service, I muttered weakly. Really? What the hell? Are you sure you typed it in right? Yeah, I'm sure. I couldn't put any energy behind my voice. Are you okay? What happened? She responded, sounding genuinely concerned. You know, don't you? Know what? You're part of it. You're this thing. What are you talking about, Lee? You're not making sense. Is your name really Jane? Well, yeah, obviously. Why wouldn't it be? Jane Lewis? The wall fell silent for a moment. What the hell? Are you looking me up or something? That's messed up, Jane said, sounding shaken. Maybe I should look you up. Maybe I should, since you're dead. What the... Lee, you're scaring the shit out of me, okay? I think you need some help. I lost my composure again. You're dead. You died. Jane Lewis died, so who the fuck are you, and why are you doing this to me? I'm not dead. Why are you saying I'm dead? She shouted. She sounded so convincing. Maybe she genuinely didn't know she was dead. Or maybe this was another trick. Oh no. Your apartment is vacant. Nobody has lived there for 8 years. It's empty. You aren't real. I heard her laugh. That kind of exasperated laugh when you hear something so ridiculous your brain has trouble processing it. It was a very human-like response. Lee, that's not true. I don't know who's telling you this shit, but it's not true. I can assure you I'm real. I signed a lease. I have a fucking parking spot. I just went to see my sister and my nephew. We played Mario Kart and ate pizza. Pretty sure I wasn't a ghost to them. Listen to yourself. You're in your own head. I am real. I'm your friend. At least I'm trying to be. Her voice began to crack at the end. I could almost hear the tears welling up. I couldn't hold it in any longer. I began to cry. She was trying to pull me back to a reality I had drifted so far from. God, I wanted everything she said to be true. Across the wall, I could hear a few quiet sobs. It was so real. It had to be real. You're really scaring me. If this is a game, please just stop. It's sick. I'll leave. I'll pack my shit and I'll leave. Just please stop. My heart broke. I never wanted this. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Jane. I don't know what's happening with me. Nothing makes sense. The building manager told me all this shit and I don't know what's real anymore. I need help. I almost let it all go. I almost convinced myself that I had totally lost it and it was all in my head. It would have been so easy. All the pieces would fit together if none of it was real, but I had one more idea. I have a phone. Like I said to her, maybe I should look her up. If she went missing, there would be reports. All I have to do is type in her name. Jane Lewis, plus the name of the city. Enter. My heart sank further than I thought it could. There she was. An article came up immediately, and I saw her face for the first time. but I didn't think she was lying, not on purpose anyway. Those tears couldn't be fake. I refused to believe it. She really doesn't know. She's still stuck in that room, thinking she's alive. I looked at her picture for a while. So different from the ones my mind conjured up when we spoke, but her face fit her voice and personality like a glove. She radiated positive energy. The image of her in my mind was replaced with this new one instantaneously. Something about being able to attach the voice to the face made me trust her 10 times more. I knew this was really her, in some form. I wasn't being tricked. I was certain. I didn't know if I should tell her that she was dead. A part of me thought there wouldn't be a point. There's no way she would believe me, but I felt like I had to. No more secrets. I needed this all out in the open, whatever happens. Jane, I said hesitantly. I looked you up. I'm looking at the article right now. Lee, please, she begged. I continued and began reading the article out loud. Jane Adrian Lewis, 26, last seen October 12th, 2015, reported missing October 14th, 2015, declared dead October 14th, 2022. Multiple searches turned up no leads. The initial suspect, ex-boyfriend Devin Aronson, whom had at the time been serving a restraining order from Jane, was exonerated. Her sister Carrie and mother Lynn continue to urge the public to come forward with any information they may have. I recited coldly, trying not to break. Jane was loved by her family, friends, and community. It is described as a kind soul, funny, passionate, and selfless. Her entrepreneurial spirit led her to start up multiple small businesses, dating all the way back to 8 years old, when she would make and sell beaded bracelets and homemade baked goods to her classmates. Her mother, Lynn, quotes, I stopped myself. This was a lot to throw at her, and I think she got the point. She was silent for a minute, and then she spoke. October 12th, 2015. Yes, 8 years ago last month. That was the last time you were seen. 8 years ago. Yeah. October 12th, 2015 is today, she said. You're telling me I go missing today? Everything turned upside down once again. I stammered. Words struggled to form. She was living out her final days all over again somehow. Nobody remembers the stupid bracelets. Only my mom remembers that shit, she continued. I'm sorry. It's not true. You're sick. You've been stalking me, gathering all this information. What the fuck do you want? She screamed. There's a video. Can I play it for you? She went silent. I took that as a yes. I turned the volume up, held the phone to the wall, and hit play on the embedded video. An older woman and a younger woman stood together in front of the microphones on the front lawn of a small house. I could only assume her mom and her sister. She wouldn't accept it from me. Maybe she would accept it from them. Her mom didn't get through 2 sentences before I heard the most horrific sound I had ever heard coming from the other side of the wall. It sounded like all the air was sucked out of her while at the same time she screamed and wailed. It was like the scream I heard the day before. All she could say was no, over and over again. I heard her rocking back and forth on the bed. It hit. She believed. I'm sorry, I cried, but all I could do was wait and listen to her violent sobbing, her awful cries. I couldn't imagine what she must be going through. After a few minutes, the crying stopped and she spoke through her sniffles. Read me more. There has to be more. I obliged and continued skimming the article. The words, "an early prominent lead," jumped out at me, and I read the paragraph out loud. Jane's older sister told police about conversations the two had the day prior to her disappearance. Jane talked about making friends with a neighbor named Lee. I paused. The last thing I expected was my name to appear in this, albeit spelled wrong. My heart began to pound, and I continued. Episode Fog, thank you for the follow. I'm glad you're enjoying enough to want to. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Whom she claimed she could hear through the unit's wall. However, when police searched, they found nobody by that name living in the building and weren't able to find any evidence of this mysterious Lee. What the fuck? Jane said, echoing my sentiments. You're alive. I'm really talking to you. 8 years ago, I surmised. It was the only way that could make sense. I've been trying to tell you I'm fucking alive. Wait, maybe that means I can help you. You're supposed to die today, but maybe I can save you. Okay, how? How was your day? My day was pretty good. It was quite productive, and then I played a bunch of Helldivers with some friends. How was your day, Episode Fog? Let me catch up on chat a little bit. Keanu Reeves is handsome. I don't know. He's got a charm to him. He's very charismatic at any rate. I don't know if I think he's all that handsome. He's not bad looking by any means. I think it's mostly just his charisma for me. Oh, hi world. Have you been lurking or did you come back? I thought about it for a second, and the most obvious answer popped into my mind. Get out. Get out of the room now. It's in the room. You have to leave. What do you mean it's in the room? It's 402. Something bad is in 402. I hear it at night. You have to go right now. Stay with your sister. Okay, I'm going, she said frantically. I heard the bed shift as she began making her way off. Then I heard something else. Wait, I shouted. Don't move. What? Why? Don't step off the bed. Stay on the bed. Why? It's breathing. I can hear it. It's under your bed. I softened my voice to a whisper, even though I didn't think it would do any good. I can't hear anything. It's there. It's waiting. Don't set your foot off. What do I do? I don't know. Just wait. I don't want to die. You won't. We'll figure this out. I paced around the apartment frantically, trying to put pieces together to try and find some answer, some way I could save her. Then something struck me. I don't want to die. She said that to me last night when she wasn't here. It was the same words, said in the same way. Like her scream was the same scream. It wasn't this thing mimicking her. It was her. I heard you when you weren't here. How did I hear you when you weren't here? How did I hear you say something before you said it? I asked in desperate confusion. I don't know, she repeated. You said those exact words before, the exact same way. It was you. I thought maybe it was using your voice, but it was you. Now, I don't understand. I don't know, Jane. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do. This doesn't make any sense. Time, she said in a softer voice. What? Alright, let me grab a drink real quick and we'll continue. Fog, it was good, but you played a lot of VR. Oh, nice, nice. I too play quite a bit of VR chat, hence why I'm in it streaming. Yeah, after I get off VR, after I get off the stream and eat some dinner, I'll probably get right back in VR chat. Oh my gosh, Slushy, what are you sad about? Considering your age, you think it'd be weird for you to say he's hot or sexy? Oh, not Jane. Oh, I'm sorry, Slushy. Maybe we'll save her. Justice for Jane? Just wait, maybe this'll be a happy ending horror story. I read this book a little while ago. It was a poetry book. It sounded like she was just talking to calm herself down, saying anything, thinking about anything, just going back to a happy place, anything to cope. It seemed like something she had to learn how to do. I let her continue while I searched my own mind for answers. One of the poems was about time, about how life is a cup and time is water being slowly poured into the cup. I can't remember exactly how it went, but this stream of water is your present, and it all collects and fills up to become your past, she said. I heard her lay back on her bed. I pictured her staring at the ceiling, fingers interlocked, scared out of her mind but trying her best to talk her way out of it. I never heard that one, I replied. It always feels like we're going somewhere because we're in the middle of the pour, but when you look at the past, it's all in the same place. You can take a sip from any of it. I always liked that analogy for some reason. Maybe when we see ghosts, it's just time spilling out of their glass, out into the world for all to see. Maybe that's why we see them most at night. It's easier to spill things when it's dark. Her voice slowly grew calmer. I listened, fearing deep down that this might be the last time I hear it. She kept going. I don't think I spilled. Maybe a little bit in the dark. Maybe that's what you were hearing, but I think I poured my time out to you. I mixed up our glasses because I needed to. Maybe she was right. There was no way of knowing, but it's a nice thought. We mixed up our time. I pictured a plain milkshake in a blender, but with a little chocolate swirl cascading into the center. Or maybe I just threw my whole glass at the fucking wall, she said, chuckling faintly. I smiled. That would do it. The thing in that room, maybe it spilled too. Spilled over here from someplace else, I surmised. The wall went silent. It was silent for a long time, too long. Then the creak. The creak I had become so familiar with. She sat up. Jane, I shouted. I see it. Her breath was shaky. Her words were weak. It's with me now. Get out of there, Jane. Run. Just run, I shouted. I can't move. Please help me, Lee. Please, she begged. I couldn't take any more. I couldn't think anymore. I took the keys Mike gave me. I grabbed a big kitchen knife and I stormed out of the apartment as fast as I could. I didn't know what I would do or what I could do. I just had to get to her. Without hesitation, I plunged the key into the lock of 402 and burst through the door, letting it slowly close behind me. My heart was pounding out of my chest. I took in what I saw in the brief moments when the room was illuminated by the hallway light. And it was everything Mike said it was. Empty, completely empty, unkempt and unclean. The dust was thick. There was absolutely no mistaking the fact that this place was abandoned. Now, though, with the door closed, all of those details were replaced by a thick blanket of darkness. So dark, darker than my apartment ever was. I tried the lights and they didn't come on. Jane, I shouted again as I walked further into the blackness. But there was no response. She wasn't there, but she was. She was on her bed, helpless, staring at something that was about to kill her. That was happening 8 years ago, but it was happening right now. I just couldn't see it. There wasn't even a bed here anymore. I stood right where it should be, and there was nothing. Please answer me, Jane. I should be able to hear her, I thought. I tried to even just feel her presence somehow, but I couldn't feel anything except dread. Was I too late? I called out to her again and again. Nothing. I turned my attention to her tormentor. Leave her alone. What are you? Show yourself. What the fuck was I saying? The adrenaline was too high. I didn't even fully realize the scope of the shit I was in. But it was beginning to dawn on me. This thing, it killed Jane. It torments people. It carves them up. And I just walked right into its mouth. I liked Jane's theory about time. But maybe it was this thing that did it. It mixed up our time. It put us together to lure me over here. 8 years without a victim, and it was starving. It knew we would connect. It knew I would come to save her. It got me right where it wanted me. All right, let's pause for a second and catch up a bit on chat. Slushy, it really does look like Jane's dad. Oh my gosh, skibbity toilet Riz. Hi, anywho. That's very good to see you in chat, even if you're bringing that ridiculousness. But I hope you're having a good day, and I hope you're enjoying the story. Fog, how do you feel that kids born in 2025 to 2039 generation will be called Generation Beta? I don't know. It's kind of boring. I'm sure they'll come up with a different name, and I'm sure like Gen Alpha will end up with its own nickname too. But yeah, Beta's kind of a boring name. Generation Beta will never be Sigma like. Oh my gosh, you dork. Slushy, this is giving you memories of the song in your room by Aiko, but he isn't a murderer and they aren't in love. Oh, hi Mauro, it's good to see you. You fell asleep? Oh my gosh, there's nothing to forgive, you dork. You don't need to compensate. It's nice to just see you here, no matter how long. Using an innocent victim as an angler lure is a cool idea. Yeah, I'm still waiting to see if there's a twist. Like, I I don't know. This story could really go anywhere, but it seems like we're finally seeing what's happening. Ain't no way till 2039 you'd be 80 by then? Yeah, I mean, I definitely won't be 80 by then, but maybe I'm misunderstanding what you're saying. Nate, you'll just start using the Pokemon titles for... Oh, okay, yeah, let's use Pokemon titles for generations. Oh, ICP, okay. I was like, I don't know who Aiko is, but I just thought of the game. Alright, let's get back to our story. I want to know how this ends. Oh my gosh, this really was a long story. We're at 2 hours, 41 minutes. Okay, where were we? I am not 22, you dorks. There we are. In my adrenaline-fueled haze, I walked far away from the door without even realizing it. I was on the other side of the room. I could make a run for it, but I froze. The soundproofing panels were gone, but the place was just as silent. The intense dark made my vision fuzzy and grainy. Dark spots and subtle shapes manifested and dissipated, tricking my eyes. I tried to scan in the room. All I could really make out was some of the basic geometry. The only light was an inch-tall line coming from under the door. Could be hiding in any one of these pitch-black corners, standing there watching me hyperventilate. There was a sliding closet door next to the front door, very slightly open. Mike said something about people seeing it in the closet. I could imagine its eye peeking out. Maybe that's where it hid in the daytime, watching Jane and listening to us. Something moved above me. I looked to the ceiling but saw only black. It could be up there too, sprawled out on the ceiling like some kind of spider, looking down at me, waiting to pounce. I wouldn't know. More movement in the far corners of my periphery. I turned to face it out of instinct, and was again met with the void. I wanted to think it was all a trick of the eyes, but I knew better. I told my body to run. It was time to run. My body didn't want to move, but I had no choice. I couldn't stay here. As much as it killed me, I was quickly realizing there was no saving Jane. There never was. I was still as powerless as I had been this entire time. So I had to go, now. Then I heard it. Creak. The floorboard, right in front of the door I was so anxious to get to. I turned and looked towards the door, and I saw it. The line of light under the door was now broken by two dark pillars. It was standing right there. It was too dark to make out any other features, or maybe it didn't have any. All I could make out was a shadow amongst the shadows. The vaguest confirmation of a form. My legs fell out from under me, and I came down hard. I kicked my feet and crawled back against the furthest corner. I didn't take my eyes off it. I didn't dare to even blink. It didn't move. After a moment, the floorboards began to creak subtly again and again. But it still wasn't moving. It sounded like it was only slightly shifting its weight from one foot to the other and back again. It was swaying. I really was trapped now. It wasn't going to let me get to the door. I put my hands on the wall behind me to help me push myself back up. One of my hands touched something wet. The wall was damp and squishy. Instinctually, I looked to see what I was touching, and my eyes were able to adjust enough to make out that it was mold, a ton of mold coating several feet of the wall. I recoiled in disgust, but it quickly all started to add up. This mold was exactly where the mold in my apartment was. It was the same mold on both sides. The guys who replaced my drywall, they never looked on the other side, but now that I thought about it, the day after they opened my wall was the day this all started. Opening the wall opened the threshold. That's how it must have found me. These revelations ripped through my mind within a few seconds, but the ultimate realization was that I took my eyes off of it. I quickly turned back. The line of light was unbroken again. It moved. It could be anywhere now. It was toying with me like it toyed with all the others. I began to feel my feet go numb, just like how Jane's did. I couldn't make a run for it anymore. This was it. It was coming for me. In my desperation, I took my knife and jammed it into the moldy wall. It slid in, so I stabbed it again and again and again. Then I dropped the knife and forced my hands inside, pulling and ripping and tearing at the decay. Some parts tore away easy, others were still rough and hard. Amidst the crumbling and the squishing sounds of the wall being pulled apart and the sounds of my own struggling, the creaks began again, coming closer now. The tips of my fingers screamed in pain. My fingernails bent and broke as drywall lodged itself behind them, but I continued tearing at it with everything I had. I felt like I had an extra pair of hands. The creaks got closer. The numbness crept up my legs. The breathing I heard time and time again. I could now feel on the back of my neck. Then, that awful sound of teeth chattering inches away from my ear. Eventually, the hole was big enough for me to crawl into, and I hoisted myself inside with every bit of strength I had left. My body barely fit between the drywall and the solid concrete. I squeezed in as best I could. I knew this wasn't an escape. This was just the only thing I could do. Maybe this would be far enough outside of its physical domain. Sound could travel past the wall, but maybe it couldn't. It was a stretch, but it's all I had. It was pitch black in here. I couldn't even see myself. I was at the whim of the warbling fuzz of my own retinas. I stopped moving, but it continued to breathe right next to my ear. Maybe I was right and it couldn't get inside. Time passed. The breathing faded. My heart rate began to slow, and the intense pain in my hands crept to the surface. I don't know how long it had been, but it felt like ages. At this point, I was waiting for the sun to come up, but instead it stayed pitch black. I finally decided to take a peek outside of the hole just to see a glimpse of that line of light again. I reached my hand towards the edge of the hole to pull myself towards it, but I couldn't find it. I ran my hand along the whole surface. I couldn't find the hole. It was gone. It was like it was never there. The wall was perfectly smooth and solid. I began to hyperventilate again. Then I began to scream. I screamed for help until my throat went coarse. I hit the wall as hard as I could over and over again, and it wouldn't budge. I couldn't see the blood, but I felt it trickle down my knuckles. I managed to dislodge a wooden stud, but that offered no help. I fought until I had no more fight left in me. Then I sat back, staring into the blackness once again, defeated. Only there was something different this time. I could only describe it as something darker than pitch black, a little fuzzy orb of it, floating past the wooden stud that broke off. I pulled myself closer and my eyes slowly began to adjust. It wasn't an orb, I began to discover. It was 3 orbs, arranged in an inverted triangle. I pulled myself closer again. No, not orbs. They were holes. I couldn't fully make it out until I was more than a foot away from it. Then I gasped in horror. A face, sunken black holes for eyes and mouth, withered and shrouded in a veil of cobwebs. I could barely make out the rest of the body, slumped over and sitting like I was, decayed to bones. There she was. The veiled woman. But not just the veiled woman, it was Jane. She was here the whole time. It probably tricked her into a wall the same way it tricked me. Tears welled up immediately and turned to frantic sobs. No, Jane, please no, I thought I could save you. Please don't be gone. I knew she was dead, but actually seeing her like this broke me beyond repair. It sunk in now. That last glimmer of hope I had was gone. My friend is dead, and she died afraid. You can't be gone. Tell me one of your jokes. You're supposed to tell them to me every day. You can't miss a day. You have to, please. I was hysterical, thinking about her scared and alone and trapped for God knows how long, never being found. It shattered me over and over. I couldn't save her. I couldn't reassure her. I couldn't make things better. I couldn't say goodbye. I couldn't even bring her or her family closure, because I was going to die in this place too, and neither of us would ever be found. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Give me more time. Spill me more time, just a little more, I begged. But nothing happened. I need another drink of water. We have to be getting so close. Oh my gosh, Slushy, you're happy because we're with Jane forever. Oh my gosh. Let me catch up on chat as well. Gotta be honest with you guys, I severely underestimated how long this story was. We're almost at 3 hours just on one story. Alright, let me catch up here. In our heart, she's 22. Oh my gosh, yeah, I definitely am not 66 years old. Guessing early 30. Yes, I am 34. But none of you believe it. Fog, if you want to make your boyfriend happy, don't just get him food. Do more like gifting him in-game skins. And then that's all you could come up... Wait, then that's all you could come up with? I feel like I missed some context with that one. Someone has to be invested. I love it when I see you guys invested in the story. It's one of the things I really miss about when Beans would come to chat more often. He always got really excited with the stories. It was a lot of fun to watch. If you want to make your boyfriend happy, don't just get him food. Do more like gifting him and gain skins. Then that's all you could come up with. All the reason why you sent this for the second time is because you made a mistake in the first one. Oh dear. Well, at least you got it right this time, I guess. I'm still very confused though. Slushy, what if Jane was the friends we made along the way? The moldy wall by our bed, the annoying desk dude. Oh my gosh. We can be the corpse's bride. No! Yeah, what's your question, Mauro? stop lying. You're 22, 28 at most. Guys are goobers. All right, let's continue this story. We're so close. The next few hours were agony, staring at the empty, decomposed husk of the girl I failed, replaying every single decision I made, thinking about how I could have done it differently. I was always too late, always one step behind, too scared, too uncertain. I always knew I was like this. I always have been, but I didn't think it mattered. I figured the only life I could ruin was my own. I began doing our knocks on the wall, over and over, hoping that maybe she would hear it. Somewhere, sometime. Maybe it would reach her at a time when she needed to know someone was still with her. That's probably not how it worked, but it's all I had left. I was hungry, dehydrated, my lips were sticking together, my vision got even spottier. Occasionally I would sleep as much as I could. I tried to move my arms and my body every now and then to stop them from becoming completely stiff, but they hurt like hell. 2 days passed. I continued knocking. I was in a haze when I saw an axe crash through the wall, bringing with it a beam of blinding light. It crashed through several more times. The light scorched my eyes. I heard a voice and yelling, but I couldn't discern it. Before long, I was being pulled out of the wall. The pain in my muscles was unbearable. Gosh, I can't imagine staying in that space for 2 days. That's like terrifying to me, honestly. My eyes wouldn't focus and my brain wouldn't unscramble, but I could think just enough to repeat, "Jane is in there," as I was dragged away, before I completely lost consciousness. I awoke in a hospital room, once again blinded by all the light, but my eyes eventually focused on Mike. He told me he regretted giving me the key to 402 and came to check on me. When he saw the key still in the lock, that's when he heard me knocking, and he got me out. I told him I was grateful and that I was sorry. The police and the paramedics came and collected Jane's body. Mike told me what story to use to explain what happened. Say I heard some rats and took it upon myself to set traps in the wall and got stuck when I found Jane. It worked well enough for them. I got fired for missing work, which made me laugh, and it goes without saying that I had to find a new place to live. I went back to my apartment after I got discharged, gathered everything I could in about 20 minutes, and left. Right before I shut the door, I knocked twice on the wall, one more time, just because. Mauro, I'll get to your stuff in just a second. We'll catch up on chat. We're just so close to the end of the story. Jane's sister reached out to say thank you on behalf of her and her family. I wish I could tell them more, but there was no way. All I could do was wish them the best. I believe they're trying to sue Mike for criminal negligence. I struggled to find a new place and a new job. I got fired a few times for being too inattentive or slow. I wasn't sleeping or eating. I had panic attacks and night terrors. I couldn't bear the dark or the quiet. The things I saw, I couldn't escape. But beyond the fear and the trauma, it was the guilt that was the worst. I saw her face everywhere. Her dead face haunted me while I slept, and her living face haunted me while I was awake. Neither face would ever forgive me. I didn't have enough money to drink away the sorrow. I was forced to face it all. Every day. Dating was off the table. I wouldn't subject someone else to myself in the state I was in. I thought long and hard about giving up in those next few months. I got closer and closer to making that decision. I started stockpiling prescription pills and drafting final letters. I only felt more and more ready as the days passed. But on the day I chose, and the time I chose, I heard 2 knocks on my wall. The end. I liked that one. I think that's one of my favorites that we've read. Maybe not the best from a technical standpoint, but gosh, that story was a journey, wasn't it? What did you guys think? How did you like this story? How many of you actually were around for the whole thing? Let me catch up on what you guys have been saying. Oh, Marshadow. Hi, Marshadow. It's good to see you. Thank you for the posture check. All right, everyone. We finished the story. We should be proud. Get those backs up straight. Get those shoulders back and those boobs out. We are very proud of what we did here today, even if we couldn't save Jane. But I don't know. What do you guys think of the 2 knocks? Maybe the body in there wasn't Jane. Maybe that was one of the other victims. Also, it's hit the 3-hour mark. It did hit the 3-hour mark. That was such a long story, you guys. And I'm sorry, my voice definitely degraded as the story went on. By the end, I am not happy with how I sound right now, believe me. Marrow, your question was, why do you like to help people? I don't know. I wouldn't. That's actually an interesting question. I never thought about it as me liking to. Well, I don't know. I guess I've said I like to help people. I just don't want people. I don't know. It's a very hard question to answer. I guess I just don't want people to be upset. Like, I don't know. There were so many times in my past, at least, where I wished that someone would just like reach out and metaphorically pick me up, like help me get up when I was feeling down or something. But at the same time, back then, I don't know if I would have taken the hand. I kind of stuck myself. Like, there were probably people who reached a hand out that I just didn't take because I was comfortable down on the ground. I was afraid of what it was like to stand back up, maybe. So, I guess I just want to be the one who reaches a hand out whenever I can. I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question. I don't feel like it really answers it. Nate, making others feel good just feels good. That's true too. Like, it's nice to see people happy, and like, if you help people, hopefully they'll help other people, and it'll just make the world a better place. Another question, are we in a creepypasta from the Squid Game? Not as far as I know, but I never finished Squid Game. from Fireside its own identity completely. Oh, wait, do you mean the world? As far as I know, it's not creepypasta inspired. Yeah, I did do a 4-hour stream. It was it our 100? No, it wasn't. Was it our 100th stream? I think it was our 100th stream that we did a 4-hour stream for. Oh, thank you for the hydrate, Nate. I definitely need it. I don't remember how long the Devouring stream was, but I remember that one was pretty long too. JPro, you had it more as background noise, so not completely sure, but always loved the idea of, am I a ghost or you a ghost? I did wonder if maybe our main character was the ghost at one point. But yeah, I'm glad it was good background noise for you, JPro. I've said it before and I'll say it plenty more times. I'm happy if you guys appreciate this stream, like, in whatever way. If it's just background noise for you, I'm totally happy with that. Derpy, you were kind of out of it for most of the story, but you really enjoyed what you paid attention to. I hope you got plenty of rest, Derpy, and, like, I hope you're feeling even a little better than you were earlier. Jane, we will miss you. Yeah, I did get attached to Jane, and I think part of that was because Slushy got so excited about it. I can't help but, like, siphon off some of that excitement from you guys. Admiral, you were riveted. Yeah, I don't think I usually see you around for the entire Creepypasta readings, and this one was a long one. Definitely as it went on, I got more and more invested and I wanted to know where things were going. I liked that it wasn't super in your face with the scares and everything. Maro, you tell me that, and then you tell me you're not an angel. Humans are capable of great things as well. And if I can do it, then the rest of you can do it too. We all can be that good that we want to see in the world. I've said it before and I'll say it again probably many times. Like, I would much rather be burned by, like there's the whole expression, the nice guys finish last sort of thing. I would rather finish last by being someone that a good person, essentially. Someone that I morally feel. I'm trying to figure out how to word it. Basically, I would rather, like, do right by people than and end up in last than end up in first by walking all over people. Like, sometimes it doesn't pay off. Sometimes we do get walked over and things like that, but I'm willing to deal with that if it means that people who deserve that kindness get that kindness. Slushy voice seems normal to me. Well, that makes me feel a little better. I feel like it's very just like raspy and not as good. JPro, you're literally on the ground, but yesterday was symbolically there too. Oh, JPro, I'm sorry. I hope things got better or get better, whatever the case is. Oh my gosh, I just remembered I have a therapy session tomorrow. Don't want to forget that. Geez, my days are kind of off. It doesn't feel like a Sunday, does it? Even though we read our creepypastas. Mauro, so you're 32? Without a doubt, you're 34 actually. She's a youngin' dork. Oh my gosh, I am not a cougar. Oh, hi Cabby. It's good to see you here still. Slushy, you can't do crap for people. Oh dear, my trackers are starting to go. Can't do crap for people. People scare me. They used to scare me too. After a while though, I don't know, things just kind of snapped, I guess. Like, I didn't want to be scared and doing nothing anymore. Like, people say life is short, but it can also be really long. And I spent a good decade of my life just going through the motions. Pretty much my entire 20s, I was just kind of doing what I thought I was supposed to do. I didn't really care about any of it. Patrick the homie. Welcome. I'm glad you're enjoying the stream enough to want to follow. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend as well. I mean, it's basically over, so I hope you had a wonderful weekend. But yeah, by the end of my 20s, I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot do more of that. Like, that decade was so long. Like, people say life is too short to, not do things, but life is also too long to not, be yourself and do things that make you happy. And so there's plenty of other people who are nervous, who are scared of social interaction, adulting, whatever. Like, there's a lot more of us than you think. And if you're at a social event and you're standing up on the wall waiting for someone to come talk to you, look at the other walls. There's probably some other people on those walls as well. And if you're standing there waiting for someone to come talk to you, they might be doing the same thing. And so I started thinking about that, and I decided I was just going to be the one to come up and talk to people. I decided I've gone so long with, people not coming up to me. I was just waiting for something to happen. I was done waiting. So, we all do that stuff. For as long as we're comfortable doing it. We have to hit a point where we're so uncomfortable with our circumstances that we want to make the change. But, don't just wait for things to happen. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but either way, you could spend a lot of time waiting. Mew, pretty much the same in your 20s? Aw. I'm sorry you were the same way in your 20s. I'm glad you're doing better now, Mew. Mauro, tomorrow absolutely is not my birthday. My birthday isn't till July 2nd. The true Independence Day, if I recall. I think, I feel like it was Ben Franklin, but maybe it was someone else. Like when they were signing the Declaration of Independence Day, They said like, this is the day we will celebrate our independence, but you know, it took some time to get it sent over to England and stuff, so there was some timing stuff, but anyway, it's also Canada Day, at least sometimes. Cabby, you didn't talk much on the stream. Love your stories, but sometimes it's hard for you to spend 3 hours trying to understand the story. That that is totally understandable, Cabby. Honestly, I I love that you show up as much as you do, and the fact that you try so hard to keep up with me, especially when um, I talk fast sometimes. Uh, I appreciate that you put any effort into it and keep showing up. I love seeing your emotes, Cabby. It's always really nice to see you in chat. World, waiting for someone to come talk to you. Me finding Trim. Honestly, not wrong. So when I started to be social in VR chat, um, I was going to these Trans Academy social events because I wanted to make some friends. I wanted to be a different person than I had been for most of my life. And it was at my second or third time going to one of those that I met Dram. I was I was standing there in a very awkward conversation trying to find an escape route, and I was like, looking at my menu, and then I turned next to me and Dram was standing there, and she told me later on, like after we started hanging out, she told me that that was going to be her last time going to one of those events because they just weren't working out for her. And if I hadn't have said anything to her when I turned and saw her, she would have just walked away and that would have been it. She wouldn't be in my life. She wouldn't be the love of my life. And so, you know, take those chances. Talk to people. All I all I did, the first thing I said to Dram, and I don't remember the exact wording, but the first thing I said was, that's a cute avatar, or I like your avatar. That's all it took. And now we've been dating for over a year. You never know when those moments are going to happen. You never know when your life is going to change. You just got to live it in a way that you won't regret. Mew, you must wait and find that tram in our life. Sorry, I'm skimming through chat. Oh no, you're talking about people in your walls. Oh my gosh, Mew, it's not my birthday. Where did this come from? World, you just get introduced to people and then just follow them around. I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, I was trying to remember how I met you, World. It was through Yuki. Brayden, when's my B-Day? July 2nd. It's pretty much the exact middle of the year. Oh, World, you're not allowed to decorate your walls. That's too bad. Not even with command strips. Those things are great. Oh, thank you, Nate, for responding with the birthday. J-Pro, you feel that you have a hard time understanding some stories? And part of that is my fault. Like, some of these stories are a bit more abstract, and I don't always read them in the most fluent manner. So if you're not focusing, I could definitely see some of these stories being hard to understand with me narrating them. I definitely recommend reading some of them on your own if they sound interesting. It's probably easier to understand. But I like doing these with you. Um, I I don't know, these Fireside Creepypasta streams, they're like, I don't know, it wouldn't feel right if we didn't have them on Sundays, you know? It's a nice it's a nice way to just wind down the weekend with you all. Oh, world, you start to space/lose focus. I get that too. I do that sometimes when I'm listening to creepypasta narrations on YouTube. Um, Mostly I'm okay focusing, but if I'm getting like tired, I might start drifting off a bit, and then I'll realize, oh, I haven't paid attention to the last like 10 minutes of this story. Marrow. Because people judge you and call you the R word when in reality you only have ADHD and that has nothing to do with it. You don't understand why I some people are just kind of ignorant. Um Obviously, like, there's a lot of cultural stuff that has an effect, and I don't know all the it sounds like the cultural view of mental illness is not very progressive where you are, and that's very unfortunate. But yeah, just remember that, like, just because you have ADHD, it doesn't mean you're, like, less than or anything. Like, it's a different way of living. It gives some challenges to you, but doesn't make you a lesser person just because you have that. Oh my gosh, Admiral, it's not my birthday. What the heck? You know better. You're just trying to egg things on. Yeah, Yuki was doing some filming and you were just hanging with Dram. Yeah, I roped Dram into that because I was doing some filming with Yuki, but I wanted to hang out with Dram still. And that's one of the reasons I'm not doing as much of the filming. Like I had to take myself out of it. I'm still gonna do some of the filming, but I was just like, the filming times are not great for me, you know, because by the time we usually film, I'm like close to bedtime. So I'm gonna be limited in how much filming I can do going forward. Oh, world, you and command strips don't get along? Oh no. Slushy, you're a weirdo. And I mean that in the best of ways. Well, you all, we had a very long stream today, and it wasn't even a special stream. It was just a very long story. Just about 3.5 hours. 7:30 for me. I need to eat some dinner. So let's go ahead and say our goodbyes. Let me do a quick search. We probably won't do a raid, but if there's anyone in particular, I might raid them. Let's see. Oh, there's actually not that many people streaming right now. Huh. Um, Yeah, the only person I would maybe raid is Bloom, but Bloom doesn't want Bloom doesn't want my raids. You guys can always go visit him and just say like we're not raiding. But yeah, we're just yeah, Ghost doesn't he said he doesn't want me to raid him cuz he doesn't want people to think that he's just like using using my viewership for his own purposes, and I told him that's ridiculous. I know, but you know, that's what he wants. I told him that people aren't gonna think that, right? Like I had a raid on my first stream. Like the first day I did a stream, I had a raid. It's not even, yeah, I know. Like if he I think another part of it might be that if there's a raid, he feels more pressured. He didn't say that, but I suspect that might be part of it. Who was the streamer he wanted to raid but keep forgetting? No, I've raided Adam plenty. Wait, Adam? Is Adam on? It doesn't say Adam's on for me. Like, I only have 5 people showing as streaming right now. And Bloom's the only one I would really consider right now. So, we'll just call it good. If y'all want to go check out Ever End Bloom, know what? Derpy or Nate, could you give a quick shout out to Ever End Bloom? I can spell it for you if you want. Oh, there was a VTuber that raided Astral twice, and she said she wanted to raid them back one day. Are you talking about Virtual Escape? I don't know what Virtual Escape's pronouns are, actually. Alright, so we won't do a raid, but if you guys want to go check out Bloom, aka Ghost, can go ahead and hop over there and tell them we're not raiding. But that's gonna do it for us today. I hope you all, you suppose so, might just be loopy. Maybe you need to get more rest, Derpy. You need to get better. Alright everyone, it's time to go. Goodbye everyone. Thank you all so much for toughing it out through this really long story today. I had a lot of fun reading it, even if I feel like my voice did degrade throughout the duration. Eat some good food. Stay hydrated. I love you all very much. Be good to yourselves and each other. And I'll see you tomorrow. We're gonna do some... I think we're just gonna do some VR chat world hopping. Keep it very casual. Hang out, go check out some places, talk, maybe do some ASMR, we'll see. But that's gonna do it. Bye everyone. Love y'all.